I always thought blood was thicker than water. That family meant something sacred, unbreakable. But looking at the positive pregnancy test in my trembling hands, I realized how wrong I had been all these years. Let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in a modest suburban home in Connecticut, my brother Ethan and I were inseparable, at least that's what our childhood photo albums would have you believe. 2 years older, with natural charm and effortless confidence, Ethan was everything I wasn't. Where I struggled, he excelled. While I worked twice as hard for half the recognition, success seemed to fall into his lap. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" became the unofficial soundtrack of my adolescence, playing on repeat from my parents, teachers, coaches, everyone. But I loved him anyway, idolized him even, until high school when something changed. Senior year, I finally found my place, editor of the school newspaper, accepted to Northwestern on scholarship, and dating Melissa, the girl I'd secretly admired for years. For once, I wasn't living in Ethan's shadow. Then came prom night. "Dude, Melissa's been flirting with me for weeks," Ethan confessed over breakfast, casually spreading peanut butter on toast like he hadn't just dropped a ball on my entire existence. "I've been trying to ignore it, but I thought you should know." The seed of doubt planted. I couldn't unsee it. The way Melissa's eyes lingered on him at parties, how she always asked about him. When I confronted her, she seemed genuinely confused, hurt even. We went to prom anyway, but the night ended with me alone while Melissa left in tears. I later discovered Ethan had texted her throughout the evening. "Heard what my brother accused you of. That's messed up. You deserve better." By graduation, Melissa was Ethan's girlfriend. My first heartbreak courtesy of my own brother. College offered escape. I rebuilt myself at Northwestern, made real friends, excelled academically, and gradually the pain faded. I returned home less frequently, and when I did, I kept interactions with Ethan civil but distant. Our parents chalked it up to growing apart, unaware of the deliberate distance I maintained. After graduation, I landed a job at a respected publishing house in Boston. Life was good. I had my own apartment, promising career prospects, and had met someone special, Claire, a children's book editor with wild curly hair, and a laugh that made everyone around her smile. When Claire and I got engaged after 2 years together, my parents insisted on hosting an engagement party. I couldn't refuse without explaining a decade-old grudge they knew nothing about. "Ethan's really turned his life around," Mom mentioned during planning calls. "He's got his own construction business now, doing really well." What she didn't mention was that turning his life around followed years of dropped out of college, couch surfing, and a stint in rehab for addiction issues I'd only heard about secondhand. The engagement party was the first time Claire met my family, the first time she met Ethan. "Your brother is so supportive," she gushed afterward. "He offered to help us find our first house, said he knows all the neighborhoods we should look at, what to watch for in home inspections." Something cold settled in my stomach, but I smiled anyway. "That's nice of him." Weeks later, Ethan called with a wedding gift opportunity, a fixer-upper in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood, below market value, because the elderly owner needed a quick sale. I could help with renovations, he offered. "Get you guys moved in before the wedding." Claire fell in love with the house immediately. The vintage crown molding, the bay windows, the potential she saw in every dated fixture and peeling wallpaper. Against my better judgment, we bought it. That's when my personal hell began. Ethan was at our house constantly, sometimes before I left for work, often still there when I returned. Claire thought it was wonderful how he'd work through lunch, refusing payment being basic materials cost. "He's doing this out of love," she insisted when I expressed discomfort. "Can't you see he's trying to make amends?" Weekends became an endless cycle of construction projects. Claire and Ethan developing inside jokes about paint colors and light fixtures while I carried lumber and held ladders, feeling increasingly like an outsider in my own home. "We're thinking about opening up this wall," Ethan would say, not to me but to Claire, who nodded enthusiastically. "We're thinking." When did they become a we? 6 months of renovation hell, and our wedding was just weeks away. When I walked in on them huddled over kitchen tile samples, laughing, they jumped apart like guilty teenagers, though they were doing nothing wrong, not technically. Later that night, Claire confronted me about my irrational jealousy. Ethan has been nothing but helpful, she argued. I don't understand why you can't appreciate that he's trying to be a good brother. I couldn't explain the knot in my stomach, the pattern I was seeing but couldn't quite articulate. Instead, I suggested we take a break from renovations until after the honeymoon. Claire reluctantly agreed. The wedding went smoothly, Ethan playing the role of supportive best man to perfection. During his toast, he looked directly at me. Take care of her, little brother. Women like Claire don't come along every day. Something in his voice made my skin crawl. To blissful weeks in Portugal, and I started to believe I'd imagined the whole thing. Claire and I returned tan, happy, and ready to finish our home together, just the two of us. But when we pulled up to our house, Ethan's truck Saturday in the driveway. Surprise! Claire squeezed my hand. Ethan finished the kitchen while we were gone. Isn't that amazing? I stared at my brother standing in our doorway, arms open wide, wearing that same smile he had the night he took Melissa away. Welcome home, he said. I forced a smile and stepped past him into our house. The kitchen was indeed finished, new cabinets gleaming under recessed lighting, marble countertops I didn't remember selecting, and a backsplash that somehow matched Claire's eyes perfectly. You did this all yourself? I asked, unable to keep the edge from my voice. Ethan ran his hand along the countertop. Had somebody's help with the heavy lifting, but yeah, the design was all me. Claire had mentioned what she wanted. When had these conversations happened? During our engagement, while I was at work. Claire beamed at him. It's exactly what I imagined. The next few weeks, I tried to reclaim our space, suggesting weekend trips, romantic dinners, anything to rebuild the intimacy that had somehow slipped away during our home renovation. But Claire seemed distracted, often checking her phone with a small smile she tried to hide. Work stuff, she'd say when caught. Then came the business trip, a 3-day conference in Chicago I couldn't avoid. Claire kissed me goodbye, promising to use the time to unpack the remaining boxes in our home office. I called that first night away. No answer. Tried again an hour later. Straight to voicemail. Finally, a text. Sorry, battery died. Ethan came by to fix the garbage disposal. All good now. Talk tomorrow. Sleep evaded me that night. And the next, when I returned home early from my trip, the house was empty. Claire's car wasn't in the driveway. I tried calling no answer. At 9:38 p.m., I heard her key in the lock. She walked in, flushed and slightly disheveled. You're home early. Her surprise seemed genuine, but something was off. Where were you? I asked, hating how accusatory I sounded. Just went for drinks with the girls from work. Didn't know you'd be back tonight. She kissed my cheek, smelling of unfamiliar cologne. I didn't confront her then. Maybe I was afraid of the answer. Or maybe I needed irrefutable proof before destroying everything we'd built. Instead, I watched and waited, noting how often her girls' nights coincided with my late meetings, how she guarded her phone with newfound vigilance. One rainy Tuesday, I left work early with a migraine. As I turned onto our street, I saw Ethan's truck parked 2 blocks away. I pulled over, watching through sheets of rain as he left our house, hurrying to his vehicle without an umbrella. I sat there long after he'd driven away, rain drumming on the roof of my car, wondering what line had been crossed behind my own front door. I didn't go home that night, checked into a hotel and turned off my phone, needing space to think. By morning, I had 23 missed calls and a dousing increasingly frantic texts from Claire. Where are you? Please answer me. I'm worried sick. Whatever you're thinking, it's not what it seems. Not what it seems. The universal prelude to a confession. When I finally returned home, Claire launched herself into my arms, crying about how worried she'd been. I held her stiffly, searching her face for signs of guilt. We need to talk about Ethan, I said. Her expression shifted almost imperceptibly. What about him? I saw his truck yesterday, when I was supposedly at work. Claire paled but recovered quickly. He was dropping off some tools he'd borrowed. Was only here for a minute. I nodded, not believing her but lacking the strength for the confrontation that would unravel our marriage. Instead, I retreated into work, volunteering for late assignments, weekend projects, anything to avoid the growing chasm at home. 2 weeks of this Cold War, and Claire announced she wasn't feeling well. Morning sickness. she explained as she emerged from the bathroom, eyes avoiding mine. Are you pregnant? I asked, a strange mix of hope and dread churning in my stomach. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I embraced her, wondering if this could save us, reset everything that had gone wrong. We could be a family, start fresh. The first prenatal appointment was scheduled. During my biggest presentation of the year, coincidence, Claire assured me she'd go alone, no big deal. I rearranged everything to be there, needing to see our baby on the ultrasound, to make this real in a way that might heal us. In the sterile exam room, the technician squinted at the monitor. Based on measurements, you're about 10 weeks along. 10 weeks. I did the mental arithmetic instantly. 10 weeks ago, I was in Chicago. The world tilted beneath me. Claire's hand sought mine, her fingers ice cold. She knew I knew. The drive home was silent. Once inside, Claire began speaking rapidly, explanations tumbling out. It was only once. She'd been lonely. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. She pleaded, we can work through this. Just like Melissa was a mistake. The words escaped before I could stop them. Claire frowned. See, what are you talking about? So she didn't know. Of course, Ethan wouldn't have told her about his history of taking what was mine. Ask your lover about my high school girlfriend sometime, I said bitterly. See if the story sounds familiar. I packed a bag while Claire cried, begging me to stay, to talk it through. As I reached for the door, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Heard the news. We should talk. White-hot rage surged through me. I drove straight to his place, a modern townhouse purchased with money from a business our parents had helped finance. Always the golden child, even in his failures. He opened the door looking solemn, prepared. I know you're angry. My fist connected with his jaw before he could finish. Pain shot through my knuckles, but the shock on his face was worth it. You've taken everything from me, I spat. My whole life. You've made sure I couldn't have anything that didn't have your fingerprints all over it. Ethan touched his bleeding lip. Is that really how you see it? That I'm some monster who's been plotting against you our whole lives? What would you call it? I'd call it you constantly setting yourself up as a victim. His voice hardened. Melissa came to me because you accused her of cheating. Claire came to me because you were never home, too busy avoiding some imagined competition with me. And you were just being a supportive brother by sleeping with my wife. It wasn't planned. He had the decency to look ashamed. I'm not saying it was right. Are you going to be part of this child's life? I interrupted. Ethan hesitated. I want to be, if Claire lets me. I laughed, a hollow sound. You two deserve each other. Driving away, I felt a strange likeness. The pattern that had defined my life, living in Ethan's shadow. Measuring myself against him suddenly seemed like a prison I'd built myself. For the first time, I wasn't leaving something because Ethan had taken it. I was walking away because I deserved better. 3 months later, I accepted a publishing job in Seattle. New city, new start. My parents were devastated by the family fracture, unable to understand why their sons couldn't reconcile, especially with a baby on the way. I didn't correct their assumption that the child was mine. The week before I left, Claire asked to meet at a neutral cafe. 6 months pregnant. She glowed in that way expectant mothers do. We talked civilly about divorce proceedings, the house sale, dividing our assets. As I stood to leave, she caught my arm. He's not with me. You know, Ethan, he comes to the appointments, but we're not together. I nodded, unsure what she wanted me to say. I didn't know about your history, she added. About Melissa. Would it have changed anything? Claire looked down at her swollen belly. Maybe everything. Walking to my car, I realized the anger that had been my constant companion was fading, replaced by something like pity for Claire, for Ethan, even for myself. We were all trapped in a pattern that had begun decades ago, each playing our assigned roles. Yesterday, my realtor called. The house sold above asking price. Claire and I will both walk away with clean slates, financially speaking. As for the rest, I'm learning that sometimes the heaviest chains are the ones we forge ourselves, link by link, year after year. Tonight, I'll board a plane to Seattle. New job, new apartment, new life. And for the first time in 32 years, I won't be anyone's little brother.
Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more interesting content coming soon.